Hi. So I just saw the Vanguard's new video about the Jimmy Dore and what do they call this? Uh, the Vanguard embroiled in all caps in Jimmy Dore versus Ryan Grimm beef all caps addressing all the drama all caps extreme. I don't. These guys are so cheesy. I don't know, dude. Like I'm a dude bro, but it's like when there's dude bros that are such like shitty people, it's just so cringe. They're like, dude bro, like Ryan Grimm is totally our bro, dude. So they're mad because like their own supporters hate them because they are shit libs, or they want to pretend that they're kind of occupying the kind of fence between being a shit lib and a leftist, but you can't because it's not a thing. It's like the fence between being like, I don't know, uh I don't know. They're two opposites. You can't really be on the fence. You have to choose one or neither one. Because if you're protecting Ryan Grimm, which they are, then you're basically. I mean, I'm not saying Ryan Grimm is evil. I don't know. He might be evil. Maybe he's not evil. Maybe has some goodness in him, and somehow he just turns evil whenever the kid's near the kryptonite or something. But the point is, when he is evil, he has to be called out for it. I supported him for, when I had never heard of him before the Tara Reid story, and he was the one who broke it. And so I was I was like, a big admirer of him for that, because nobody else in the media would break that story, and he's somebody who actually has a lot of background in the media. But like, even when he broke the story, he gave us a hint that we shouldn't get too cozy trusting him, because he said that he didn't intend to break that story. He said, like, he's like, in the media, there's basically a rule where if there's a woman who accuses a man of something, that's not a story. Like, it has to have something else. So his story was about the Time's Up organization, um, that wouldn't take Tara Reid's case, was not on her case itself. And he said that her case itself was not news. It's not considered news, because it's just somebody accusing somebody. It's just an American citizen accusing the potential president of rape. So it doesn't matter, because she's not, maybe if she was a professor or if she was like a CEO, it would be news. But if you're not that, if you're just a person who was raped by a powerful Democrat, it's not news. That's what he said last year. So that told me, like, okay, he's not very radical, obviously. I mean, I was still glad he broke the story kind of by accident. And then, Katie Halper picked it up from there and was the one who actually interviewed Tara about her case. And he even said, I think maybe even in an interview, like where Katie was there, he basically said it wasn't news. Like, he's like, well, I couldn't write a story about Tara Reid's allegations because that's not news, but I could write it about. So he's basically insulting Katie Halper's work, which she did, using his work. So anyway, I don't know what I don't know if there's any hope for that guy. But, certainly now he's really, like, I first saw how bad he could be when he was coming at Shahid Buttar. Um, when Shahid Buttar was running for Nancy Pelosi's seat in Congress, and the San Francisco left, the quote unquote leaders of the, like the DSA and the Sunrise Movement and the Bernie Kratz and stuff in San Francisco, they all united against Shahid Buttar, who's brown man of Muslim background, and because there was a white woman who was doing a blatantly racist smear campaign against him, trying to smear him as if he was being creepy towards her, when there were a million more people saying that she was the one who was creepy to everybody. But Ryan Grimm just chimed in with her, and he's like, "Oh, yep, this is," and I never saw him retract. Like, he helped attack Shahid Buttar, and I think he helped attack Alex Morse in Amherst or Worcester or whatever, like Massachusetts, who was running against like the most corrupt guy in Congress. I think that The Intercept and probably Ryan Grimm, I'm not as sure about that, but I think they might have had a hand in that smear job, homophobic smear job against Alex Morse. So, at that point I knew, like, okay, Ryan Grimm apparently is not actually trustworthy. But it's more lately that he's really just come out as like full on anti-leftist. I mean, I guess he claims to be a leftist. He just doesn't like real left, like other leftism besides his own weird milquetoast version. He's mad at anybody for striving for anything, except when he's chastising us for somehow not striving enough. But anyway, I don't even care. Like, I mean, there's other people who have more ably attacked Ryan Grimm, but I did want to highlight that thing about Tara Reid, the fact that he explicitly said multiple times that he didn't think that her story itself was newsworthy or should be reported on. He said that the only thing he was reporting on that was newsworthy was about the Time's Up organization, not about our president raping a woman. So, that's twisted. So anyways, these Vanguard people, they did this softball interview of Ryan Grimm, which, like, I didn't really even care that much about the softball interview. And even some parts of it were not softball, some were. That was not my issue. My issue was during the interview, they took jabs at Jimmy Dore. Like, they took the opportunity, or they just arbitrarily decided to insert themselves into conflict between Jimmy and Ryan, and they just decided to trash Jimmy and make it sound like Jimmy had somehow been cowardly because he didn't. It's like Jimmy did an interview of Ryan Grimm like months ago, before they had a conflict, before they were in disagreement, because Ryan Grimm was still being kind of on the down low with his like shit living. So they didn't really disagree. They basically agreed, and that was that. And it went online. I don't think it went online as a specific segment, but it went online as part of like the whole stream or something like that. At least parts of it are on the jimmydore.com. But the Vanguard are trying to claim, like, they're so defensive about everybody calling their own fans, like thousands of their own fans, like all the ratioing their video and saying that they did a softball interview, that they're taking it out on Jimmy, and they're comparing their interview to Jimmy's interview, which is, absurd, because Jimmy did an interview that was before Ryan Grimm was like this, you know, like it's only in the last, it's only basically since that interview with Jimmy that Ryan Grimm has moved to the right. So this is, yeah, very disingenuous that the Vanguard are bringing that up. Very Kyle Kalinske, kind of like when Kyle Kalinske was bringing up how, you know, he's like, oh, Jimmy and Aaron Mate can't complain that I don't defend them or that I refuse to defend them under any circumstance because they didn't defend me when I got canceled. And apparently it later turned out that it was for saying the N-word like a million times online. He compared that to them being smeared as Russian and Syrian assets for doing journalism. So this is the kind of level of just like absolute buffoonery. You know, it's kind of like some of these podcasters, you know, they act like Dr. Fauci, where they just seem like they think they're unassailable. They just think, or like Biden when he gets challenged on something, he's like, listen, fat, you know, he's like, they just don't have any sense of responsibility. They just will not be held to account by anybody. So they did that. So they got ratioed on the interview of Ryan Grimm. Jimmy Dore did some very mild critique, but he actually praised them a lot more than he critiqued them. He kept saying, you know, I love these guys. He was showing how the parts of the interview that were good that they did, where they were actually asking a couple good questions, and he just kept saying how great they are and how he loves them. Their next video was just them trashing Jimmy Dore as revenge for their fans trashing them for the entire segment, basically just going off. Like, especially the beardy guy, like, I think his name is Zach or something. This guy was like having his like Anna Kasparian moment. He was like, yeah, yeah, he was just going off on Jimmy. And like Jimmy had literally just said that he loved them and that they're great, and he just had the most mild critic. He's like, I wish that they had asked, like he spent like $40 on super chats to ask interview questions for Ryan Grimm. They refused to ask any of those questions to Ryan Grimm. And that was his only criticism, was like, well, I wish that they had, you know, asked my questions, because that's usually the etiquette online on YouTube, is if you pay for a super chat and there's an interview and you're trying to ask a question to the person interviewed, then, you know, if it's at least somewhat reasonable, then it's usually obliged or should be obliged. So that was his only mild criticism, but they just came out like viciously demonizing him in their next video, which got totally ratioed again. Like, I went through both of the interview and that next video especially, and I found, like, you know, very, very few comments supporting them. It seemed like the few comments that were supporting them, some of them might have been like not even their fans, just like people you saw like that they're joining the shitlib team and were trying to make it seem like somebody supports them. I don't know. But again, on this, they just did another video. I think what they did was they took down that video. They took down the video. First, they changed the name of it. Like, first it said like Jimmy Dore was canceling them or something about they're being canceled and wah. And then they changed the title of it, and then eventually they just took it down. But then they just put up this video, which is just the same video. It's just them crying and yelling at Jimmy Dore and doubling down and yelling at yelling at the people that actually watch their videos. Because like here, they have 753 dislikes, or 753 likes, 1.8 thousand dislikes. So that is like, I don't know, dude. I mean, somehow they still have 23,000 subscribers. I don't know if that's like how that is the case. But I mean, there's subscribers and then there's viewers. Like, I'm guessing a lot of these people voting down are the subscribers who actually watch the videos. There's a lot of people who might like subscribe to some shit, but they're not even watching them. They're not even on YouTube that much. But the really active YouTube viewers, those are probably the ones that are unsubscribing, and those are the ones who are canceling their Patreon subscriptions and whatever for the Vanguard. And yeah, all they do is just double down, insult their audience, just like Kyle Kalinske, basically, and the Young Turks. The Young Turks, they did a poll and their own audience said they favored Force the Vote by like 10 to 1 or something, and that was their paying subscribers, and they still opposed it. Basically, they still like tried to handicap that movement. So they get ratioed by their, like, all these shit-libbing pseudo lefty YouTubers, they're getting ratioed and like trolled by their own people. Like they're getting like critical comments all on all their own videos. So I mean, I'm hoping this is a sign of that they're eventually just gonna, that people are just eventually gonna stop watching their videos and supporting them. Like, I know that some of the comments, I mean, a lot of comments are people unsubscribing, but some are saying that they, had been supporting them monetarily and they're not going to anymore. But it's just amazing how, I mean, like, all my life I've just noticed how fake people can be, how like the worst scumbags can play the victim, like how fake, like people like them, they're playing the victim, they're pretending like Jimmy Dore is picking on them, and literally this is like the guy who was nicer to them than anybody could freaking imagine, and certainly far nicer than they ever deserved, and all they did was like crap all over him. Same with Kyle Kalinske did the same thing. Like Jimmy Dore like adored these guys. Like he thought they were like the future or something, probably. He was like hoping like they would be the next generations, like, pass the baton to them or whatever. But, they just so craven, and at the same time playing the victim and acting that like he's the meanie, and they're just super nice and victims and whatever, while they just crap all over this guy who's so nice to them. I mean, at the end of the day, like, anybody who can backstab somebody, like, anybody who can, like, yeah, if you can backstab anybody, then you're a scumbag, like, people might say, like, oh, this is not about politics or whatever. But I don't really want to be listening to podcasters who are scumbags, even if they supposedly say the right talking points, state the right political opinions or positions. I mean, there are people who might agree with me on a lot of politics, but they're scumbags, and I don't want that much to do with them, just because, at the end of the day, these are moral issues, and people who have no respect, who have no conscience, who have no ethics, at the end of the day, they're going to sabotage us somehow or other. So this is just a great example of, how they're sabotaging themselves and trying to sabotage the left. But, even this, it might seem like some irrelevant drama, but no, like, it's much better. I guarantee you, it's a lot better to go through this drama now and figure out who's a scumbag and who's a backstabber through this kind of stuff than it will be, like, say, in the heat of a revolution, finding out, oh whoops, all these people we trusted with our lives are just like purely evil. No, it's much better to find it out now when the stakes are not quite as high as they might be in the future. So anyway, I'm glad to see him being canceled. I spend like a lot of times I just spend a lot, like hours like reading comments on YouTube and like, on Twitter when I was on Twitter, that there's sometimes just the average people are so beautiful when they come through, like reading the comments, because you see like these smug, like they just, these self-important, presumptuous like pricks, the Vanguard, like they just are like, we don't care, like we don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, we're cool, we're from BreadTube, like they watch Vosh, they watch Kyle Kalinske, they probably, they like, oh, they're so bad, I hate these people. Like, so basically we need to determine who's who in the left, and like, as long as, like, here's one thing they say, that they like Ryan, like, and they really emphasize this, so I think this might get more to the heart of what they're trying to do, is that they said, well, we like Ryan Grimm a lot better. We think Ryan Grimm's a lot more of our comrade. He's on our side more than some evil person like Tucker Carlson. So they said, like, that Tucker Carlson is so terrible because, like Jimmy Dore has gone on the Tucker Carlson show, and he's made a point to try to reach out to conservatives and try to find middle ground. So they're saying, like, well, we're like, here Jimmy is reaching out to right-wing evil people, and we're just trying to build leftist unity with great leftists like Ryan Grimm, who we just have a few points of disagreement with. But I mean, for one thing, going on the Tucker Carlson show is not just about Tucker Carlson. It's about, like, if you believe in what you're saying, you should want to go on the biggest show in America. If you are saying something good and important that saves lives or that combats evil or oppression or whatever, and you won't go on the biggest show in America, then you're potentially a piece of shit, because you're denying, you're not committed to your cause. But just even the idea that somehow Ryan Grimm is good and Tucker Carlson is bad, I don't really know. I'm not going to get into I'm not going to take that very seriously in terms of caring like which one is worse. But I'd say if Ryan Grimm is in bad faith, which a lot of his actions have suggested, then he is potentially worse. Like, it doesn't matter what positions, again, like, it doesn't matter if you agree with somebody politically if they're in bad faith, because they don't even have those positions. That was just some shit they said to you to lie to you. So Ryan Grimm, like, yeah, he's super left. I'm sure Joe Biden says he's like super progressive too. It doesn't mean it's true. There's such a thing as people lying. So I don't know about Tucker Carlson. I certainly do, disagree with him on a lot of things, but I would say that in a way he's less of a bad faith actor than Ryan Grimm, because what the heck? Because he, like, I mean, he's a conservative in some ways. He's open about that. but um, he, I don't know, like if he's genuine on the things that Jimmy is able to find agreement with him on, like if he genuinely does support Julian Assange, that after Jimmy convinced him of that, I don't know what Ryan Grimm thinks of Julian Assange. Maybe maybe they have the same, maybe he supports him too, um, but you know, it's just stupid, like to say that everybody who's nominally on the left is better than everybody who's nominally on the right is just, it's just a huge assumption and presumption and wrong. There's a lot of people who've been on the left who've literally been rapists, murderers, terrible people, and there have been people who are on the right who've been, who have done good things. So this idea like, oh, well, Jimmy's worse because he associates with Tucker Carlson and all we're doing is associating with like, pseudo-liberal, pseudo-progressive saboteurs or whatever. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like I still don't entirely know what to think of Ryan Grimm because, again, it's like it seemed like he played a good role in breaking the Tara Reid story, but even though he did it so tepid, so like in such a half-assed way. But he's not gonna if he ever does see the light, it's not by people kissing his ass and people just giving him a pass like the Vanguard wants to do. But yeah, honestly, like the amount of evil of the Vanguard at this point, and Ryan Grimm, honestly, like at this point I hate Ryan Grimm, really, especially because of how what he did with Shahid Buttar, but then also all this stuff. It's just really showed how he'll say like anything to make leftists look bad and to make centrists look good. Except when he's like pretending to be a leftist, and then he'll try to say basically mimic what Jimmy Dore says. But so anyway, I still am pleading for YouTube followers, just because like I think that we need more YouTubers following each other who are committed to leftism and are populists and not shit libs and not overly not handicapped by like political correctness, run amok, and because it can't just be Jimmy. We can't just like put all our hopes on him and then wait for like the freaking government to find some way to neutralize him. Like we need as many of us as possible so that we create like a strong like phalanx or like a mighty army of comrades. And I think that's our best hope. So yeah, anyway, Jimmy's been like such a gentleman about this. It's amazing. He mentioned them in another video and he wouldn't even say their names. He just like briefly touched on it because he's such a gentleman and they're just still trashing him like little cretins. And while they act like he's the asshole. Anyway. Like I had no idea I would have this much admiration for Jimmy Dore. Like this time last year, I was pretty pissed off at Jimmy because he was still clinging on to that the Tulsi thing, and I mean I supported Tulsi. I supported I supported Bernie, Yang, and